Now, if David were here today, he would tell you, don't let the circumstances fool you. You may not see how your dream can come to pass, how you can get well, but when the coming one shows up, one touch of God's favor, one Samuel knocking on your door, one slingshot, one Goliath being defeated, and you'll step into levels that you've never imagined. That's why David wrote, wait expectantly for the Lord to act. Don't wait discouraged, defeated. This is never going to change. Give God something to work with. God needs some faith. He needs some hope. He needs some praise. God, I believe you're the coming one. I believe what Malachi said, that you're coming with healing in your wings. I believe, like David, that my Samuels are on the way. I believe my breakthrough is en route. I believe my child's salvation is en route. I believe that dream that I'm praying about is already en route.
Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful.
Because it's not like you don't have a dream for your life. It's not like you don't have a desire. In fact, some of you, it's not that you don't even have faith in God. Your problem is every time you step out, you have yoked yourself up to people that you have no business being yoked up to, and your life is going in zigzags. Why is it I'm back here again, this time like I was last year? I should have overcome that. I should be further. I should be stronger.
If you're not committed, you're not going to make it.
I fought a good fight. I fought for my kids, and I fought for what was right. And I fought for my good health. And I fought for a good career that would bless my family. I fought a good fight. The encroachment. Opposites are in conflict, and we're in the middle. And if you want something valuable, you got to fight for it.
If you think ordinary's cool, ain't no problem. It's some really wonderful ordinary people. But if you are sitting in this room and you have extraordinary aspirations, then you're going to have to do extra. You put extra on top of ordinary and you come up with extraordinary. It's no other way. But here's the fact. All of you have extraordinary capabilities. All of you. You have to decide if you are willing to do the things to put you in that category. Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life. He who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night. Your first commitment is to God. The God who gave you life, who blew breath into you. Mama bought you shoes, daddy got you a bicycle. God gave you life.
Put God first. Everything that I have is by the grace of God. Understand that.
You owe him a level of commitment beyond all others.
Not only have I fought a good fight, I fought a good fight and I kept the faith. See, that's the deal. Keep faith with your family. Fight like crazy and keep faith. Fight the enemy and keep faith.
What do you do when you tried and failed and you want to quit and you want to give up? Because trying again means hurting again, means risking again, means believing again, means hoping again. Sometimes you can be blessed and be unhappy because even though things are going right, they're not going according to what you had believed and expected, and you know that something is missing out of your life. What do you do when something is missing out of your life and the things that replaced it do not compensate for what you lost?
To commit means to put your body and soul into something. To offer your life as a sacrifice means that you're willing to make a bargain with fate. And the bargain is, I'm going to act as if I give it my all, then the best possible thing will happen because of that. And it has to be an act of faith, because how are you going to know? You can look at other people, but that isn't going to do it. It's a decision. That's the covenant, right? It's a decision about how to live in the world. because the evidence can't be there before you make the decision.
You have comeback power when something happens to you. Don't buy into what has happened to you. Buy into, I'm getting up out of here. I'm going to change this situation. This does not work for me, and I don't have the luxury of being depressed. I need to clear my head.
You know what I thought to myself? I thought I would hate to live and die and never know what would happen if I ever committed myself to anything. Some people have never thrown their whole self at nothing. Not at school, not at work. Oh my God, you've had 1 foot in and 1 foot out of every dream all of your life, and you've never seen what you could be if you ever really connected and threw everything. And the question is, if you died today, what ideas, what dreams, what abilities, what talents, what gifts will die with you?
I've always been told how average I can be. Always been criticized about being average. But I want to tell you something. I stand here before you, not listening to those words, but telling myself every single day to shoot for the stars, to be the best that I can be. Good enough isn't good enough if it can be better. And better isn't good enough if it can be best.
Turn your wounds into wisdom. You will be wounded many times in your life. You'll make mistakes. Some people will call them failures. But I have learned that failure is really God's way of saying, excuse me, you're moving in the wrong direction.
Other than death, all failure is psychological.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Your story doesn't end in the night. The night is temporary. Don't get discouraged. It's just a night season. It's not permanent.
The final barrier to the slave programming is always going to be God. They're going to come along and convince us all that the sky is green. And it's unfortunate because slowly they're going to win. And the only barrier to this insanity is God, the book that says yes and no. Simple. And now we're living in a society which is so brutally corrupt to the core. The best hope you have is to find a society where people are afraid of God. As simple as that. Only God is going to get to a point where he says, it doesn't matter how much you pay me, it doesn't matter how you've psyoped me and indoctrinated me. I know that my holy book and the God I believe in says this is wrong, so I refuse to believe. Which is why they fear God, which is why they don't want to teach children about religion. They have to remove God so they can attack all of these different institutions with these insane ideologies. And these ideologies are weaponized virtue. If there is evil in the world, and I'd like to think we both agree there certainly is, there has to be an equal and opposite force, which is good. Even the idea of God as a notion, if that idea of God resists evil, then God is real. Even just a concept of God in and of itself, if enough people believe in it makes them do good, then God must be true. And that's the equal and opposite force to the evil of the world. So I don't see how anybody with a conscience cannot believe in God anymore.
And if you don't believe in God in the world we're currently in, then I don't know what's wrong with you, because God is the only one who can fix this mess. We're going to need God to fix this mess. And what we need, once again, is for people to love each other and care about their community and care about their children and care about one another. And if that's not God, tell me what is. You can't replace God with anything else. You can't replace it with money. You can't replace it with government, because it's only faith in God that's going to make you say, no, I believe in X. God wants me to tell the truth and stand up for what is right, despite the fact that I am persecuted for it. Why are all the people in charge of the world trying to get rid of God? That's the only thing they fear.
People who are atheistic and go, God's stupid. You don't need God. They're not even smart enough to look at the big picture and realize without God, there's nothing. When 10 armed men turn up at your house, putting a gun to your head, you'll wish God was there. You'll be praying then, Mr. Atheist. And it could have been prevented in the first place if society was preserved, if there weren't atheists like you talking godlessly. Without God, there's nothing. Everybody worships something. By talking about being an atheist, you think you're just showing the world how smart you are and that nothing's above you. But it's absolutely not the opposite. You're worshiping clicks, likes, money, some human. It's garbage. If you believe in God, you're not going to worship your wife. You're going to respect your wife. You're not going to allow a woman to trounce all over you.
For anyone who also doesn't believe in God, if these religions are man-made, why do they go against the wills of men?
And I feel like Christianity's lost a lot of its presence in recent times. And that breaks my heart. Christianity's reached a point where it's mocked in Christian nations. That breaks my heart. And I think the attraction of Islam is there's a lot of people who are just tired of being mocked. And you can disagree with Islam all you want. And I'm not an Islamic scholar to argue that point. However, I will argue the point that it is the most respected religion on the planet. Nobody openly mocks it without fear, whereas people will mock Christianity openly and think it's a joke. I believe that if you have a religion where you just accept everything, then you believe in nothing. In life, there has to be a line that you won't let someone cross. And with God, there should be the same. And if God will really, truly forgive anything, if he'll truly forgive you doing the most heinous acts you can possibly think of, and even Christians themselves won't ostracize you, is that too far? Is that too much freedom?
Go to a Christian and say, is homosexuality allowed? They're going to say, well, you people can make their own choices. God loves everyone. The Bible says no. Quran says no. Done. I'm not going to be part of a religion or adhere to a religion that doesn't have strict beliefs. So there's only Islam left. So if you truly believe in God, I don't see how you could not want to be a Muslim. And that's why I reverted. We need God more than ever. I also believe that God can be proud of you when you do your absolute best. And I don't think many people genuinely do their best in the world anymore. So when I'm sitting in a dungeon, I'm sitting in a Romanian jail cell, I understand that it is a chance that God has given me and my ancestors are watching for me to do my absolute best and to show to them that I am the man I say I am. I think that would be a very amateur way to view the world, that you can now become one of the most famous men in the world who talks about mental discipline and mental resilience, and God's not going to test it. Well, it says in the Quran, just because you believe, you think Allah will not test you. That's how God shows love. God is like a father, and a father teaches you, I believe, through pain. If a dad wants to teach you how to ride a bike, he puts you on the bike, lets you fall off and get hurt, puts you back on the bike. I believe that bad things happening to you are a fantastic thing. I believe you need to be strong enough to deal with them and then articulate them. Someone said this to me. I think in school, you learn things and then you're given a test, but with God, you're given the test and then you learn things. And that's the way it works.
God will test you, not to punish you, not to break you, but to shape you, strengthen you, and prepare you for the greatness he has planned for you. These tests are not random or meaningless. They are divinely designed to reveal your character, deepen your faith, and build your resilience. When challenges arise, it's easy to question, why me? It's natural to feel overwhelmed, to wonder if you have the strength to carry on. But remember this, the tests you face are not placed before you to destroy you. They are there to refine you. Gold is purified in fire. Diamonds are forged under pressure. And so too are we made stronger through the trials we endure. God knows your potential, even when you doubt it yourself. His tests are meant to bring that potential to the surface, to reveal the strength and faith within you. Every great story of faith is built on a foundation of tests. Think of Abraham, tested with the ultimate sacrifice, only to prove his unwavering trust in God. Think of Job, who lost everything yet remained faithful, ultimately receiving double his blessings. These stories remind us that tests are not signs of God's absence, but of his presence. He tests those he loves because he sees their capacity for growth and greatness. When God tests you, it's a sign that he is preparing you for more. He is stretching your faith, expanding your capacity, and teaching you lessons you cannot learn in comfort. Tests are moments of transformation. They push you out of your comfort zone, forcing you to rely on him when your strength is not enough. They teach you patience when the answers don't come immediately, and they instill humility when you realize that success is not achieved by your power alone, but by his grace. But let me be honest, God's tests are not easy. They will challenge your faith, your patience, and your perseverance. They will bring you to the edge where you have no choice but to trust in him completely. In those moments, remember this, he never gives you more than you can bear. His tests are tailored to your strength, and with every trial, he provides the tools and grace you need to overcome. The tests you face are opportunities to grow closer to God. When you lean on him, you find peace that surpasses understanding, strength that defies your limits, and hope that carries you through the darkest times. Testing is a partnership, a chance to walk with God, to learn from him, and to experience his faithfulness firsthand. Do not fear the tests. Embrace them. Every challenge is a chance to prove to yourself and the world that you are capable of enduring, growing, and thriving. Every test is a step toward the blessings that God has in store for you. When you pass these tests, you will find yourself stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the future. Sometimes the tests will come disguised as losses, delays, or disappointments. You may lose a job, face betrayal, or experience setbacks that make you question everything. But in those moments, remember that God's delays are not his denials. What feels like a setback is often a setup for something greater. He is preparing you for blessings you cannot yet imagine. Trust in his plan, even when it doesn't make sense. Testing builds resilience. It shows you what you're made of and what you can handle. It teaches you to rise after every fall, to persevere through every storm, and to keep going even when the path ahead seems unclear. These moments of struggle are where your character is forged, where your faith is solidified, and where your trust in God becomes unshakable. Remember, every test has a purpose. It's not just about surviving the trial. It's about learning the lesson. What is God teaching you? What strength is he revealing within you? What blessings is he preparing you for? When you start to see your trials as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks, you begin to understand the beauty of God's plan. God's tests are acts of love. He wants you to be prepared for the destiny he has set for you. He wants you to grow into the person he created you to be. He sees your potential, and he knows that the only way to bring it to fruition is through testing. Trust in his wisdom, for he knows what you need, even when you don't. Trust that the pain has a purpose, that the struggle is temporary, and that the rewards will be worth it. Lean into your faith and let it guide you through the storm. Remember, tests are not the end of your story. They are the beginning of a new chapter. They are moments of growth, transformation, and preparation. And when you emerge from the fire, you will be stronger, wiser, and ready to receive the blessings that God has in store for you.
If they can do it, I can do it. And that's the mentality. If somebody else can do it, you can do it. And I said to myself, I will do it and I will do it better. That's the mentality. And I believe with the mentality is 50% of the success in what you're doing.
Winning is a decision. Winning is going to cost you everything, but it's going to reward you with so much more. It is.
This is it. This is the day that you put it all on the line, because everything that you dream of counts on what you do today. No more half in, half out. It is going to take every ounce of you to get to where you want to go. But it is up to you at the end of the day. Will you continue to live a mediocre life, or will you finally put it all out there?
It's not always about winning the day. Sometimes it's about surviving the moment. If today feels heavy, focus on doing one small thing. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to make it through the next hour. One choice, one step, one moment. And when you do, give yourself credit, because some days that's a victory in itself.
You have to be able to use what's given to you. And we are unfortunately given way more negative than we are positive. So how are you going to use it? Are you going to use it by letting it, getting shy and sitting in the basement, saying, man, I'm not really ready to play this game? Or are you going to use it like, hey, f you. I deserve this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove you wrong. And then in 5-10 years, you're going to walk in the room and all those people that doubted you, all those people that said negative to you, all those people that made jokes to you, all those people that rolled their eyes at you, they're all going to tell you how proud they are. I always believed in you. I remember, and you'll remember too, every single person that ever said negative things to me. I remember all of them. By the time they come back around and say they're proud of you, you don't even need the validation anymore because you already know. And that's the most powerful thing that you can have. Your own belief in yourself, proving yourself right, proving that you do have what it takes. And nobody can take that from you once you've built that.
Your growth will frighten people who have no plan on changing.
Don't ask anyone what they think you should do. Make a decision. You're going to do this. You're going to make a decision right now today that you are never going to lower your standard of living. You have the potential that God gave you. You've got all the potential in the world. Anything anybody else does, you're quite capable of doing. But you've got to make a decision to do it. When you make a decision, the way will always show itself.
Any skill must be nourished over and over again. And this is why skill attained by investing a lot of effort. And the only way in order to express this is by repetitive structure, repetitive movements.
Some people start off with life served to them on a silver platter, and I bet you think that's better. The thing is, though, money can't buy purpose, and I guarantee that when you start off with the epitome of what people deem successful, and you did absolutely nothing to get there, the emptiness is haunting. Everyone is the victim of something, but it's only those that find meaning in their struggles that eventually become their own hero. When you take resistance away from a person, they're left with no reason to push. So your situation, though it's heavy by nature, is exactly what you need to keep going.
Remember this, is that people are time wasters, and the great majority of people have no goals, they have no priorities, they have no plans, they have no concern about becoming successful, and they think that you're the same. They think because their time isn't worth anything, that your time isn't worth anything also.
Always directly approach what you want is the wrong way. Why? Because it is one-sided. You want freedom, face the structure. Face the hard discipline. Because if inside this hard structured form, you are able to have the freedom, you feel free inside this hard form, that is the freedom.
The axle around which the wheel of life turns is goals.
This is why a goal is so important, because we will become that. We become what we think about. Now, it may be fantasy at first. It might even appear to us as being a lie. But if you read it often enough, you'll start to believe it.
Every day is a good day if you make that the case. And I don't mean having some fake positive attitude towards the day. I mean actually making it a good day through what you control. You see, people think that having a rock solid routine fixes everything, and it might fix some of your problems, but it doesn't build immunity to external problems. The goal is to build the highest minimum possible in terms of what you carry out on a daily basis. You see, in my case, my worst day possible where things go horribly wrong and I achieve nothing, this is what I like to call the best worst case scenario. Life becomes very problematic when you leave everything in the hands of happenstance, because when things inevitably go wrong, you'd be left with the feeling that there's nothing you can do to progress life towards being better. Take advantage of what you control and you will no longer be left with that feeling. You can exercise, you can eat healthy, you can think intentionally, and you can make these things the baseline accomplishments of every single day.
Your new life is going to cost you your old one. It's going to cost you your comfort zone and your sense of direction. It's going to cost you relationships and friends. It's going to cost you being liked and understood, but it does not matter. Because the people who are meant for you are going to meet you on the other side. You're going to build a new comfort zone around the things that actually move you forward. Instead of being liked, you're going to be loved. Instead of being understood, you're going to be seen. All you're going to lose is what was built for a person you no longer are. Let it go.
The strength in loneliness and heartbreak. Loneliness and heartbreak. Two things that everyone fears, but no one escapes. These are the moments when life feels like it's been stripped bare. When the world seems a little colder, and the weight of it presses down on you in ways you didn't think possible. But here's the truth. It's these very moments, these periods of isolation and pain, that have the power to change you in ways nothing else can. They break you open, they strip away the illusions, and they force you to confront yourself. And it's in that confrontation that you start to become something more. when you're in the middle of it, when you're feeling the sting of being alone or the ache of a heart that's been broken, it's easy to think that this is all life is, that this is how it will be from now on. But loneliness, just like heartbreak, is temporary. It's not a life sentence. It's a season. And like any season, it's there to teach you something. It's there to give you perspective. When we're surrounded by people, by noise, by distractions, it's easy to lose sight of who we are. It's easy to drown in the external and forget about what's happening internally. But when you're alone, when there's no one there to distract you from yourself, you're forced to confront your own thoughts, your own feelings, and sometimes your own pain. And while that might sound terrifying, it's also where real growth happens. Loneliness shows you who you are without the noise, without the validation of others, without the constant need for approval. It strips away the need to perform, the need to be something for someone else, and forces you to be you. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you get to hear your own voice clearly. And heartbreak teaches you something different. It shows you that love, for all its beauty and all its power, is fragile. It can break, and when it does, it leaves you questioning everything: your worth, your future, your past. But it also teaches you something profound. It teaches you about resilience. It shows you that even when your heart feels shattered, even when it seems like the pieces will never fit together again, you can still survive. You can still heal. And when you do, you become something more. The broken parts of us. The parts that have felt pain, that have experienced loss, that have known loneliness. They don't weaken us. They make us stronger. They make us better because they give us depth. They give us perspective. They teach us to appreciate the moments of connection when they come, to value the people who truly see us, and to understand that life, in all its messiness, is still worth fighting for. You see, the beauty of loneliness and heartbreak is that they teach you how to stand on your own. They teach you that you don't need anyone else to define your worth, that you don't need constant affirmation to know who you are. And when you come out the other side of that, you're stronger, not because you've been hardened by the pain, but because you've learned to embrace it. You've learned to take those broken pieces and rebuild yourself stronger than before. There's a Japanese art form called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The cracks and breaks are highlighted, not hidden. And the piece, once repaired, becomes more beautiful because of those breaks, not in spite of them. That's what heartbreak and loneliness do for us. They crack us open. They expose the parts of us we might have tried to hide. But once we heal, we're not weaker for having been broken. We're more complete, more real, more ourselves. Loneliness teaches you self-reliance. It teaches you how to be with yourself. And that's something most people never learn. They run from themselves, from their own thoughts, from their own solitude. But when you face it, when you sit in it, when you learn to embrace it, you discover that you are enough. Just you, without the need for external validation, without the need for anyone else to tell you that you're worthy. And heartbreak, it teaches you that nothing is permanent, not even the pain. It shows you that love is not about never being hurt, but about learning to love even after you've been hurt. It's about resilience. It's about vulnerability. It's about learning that you can survive the storm and come out the other side stronger, with a deeper understanding of what it means to care for someone and to care for yourself. We often think that the goal in life is to avoid pain, to avoid loneliness, to avoid heartbreak. But what if those things are the very things that make us who we are? What if the broken parts of us, the parts that have been shaped by isolation and loss, are the parts that give us our strength? Because here's the thing. Everyone wants to be strong, but no one wants to go through the fire. Everyone wants to be wise, but no one wants to be broken. But wisdom doesn't come from a life without scars. Strength doesn't.
Let your silence be loud. There's a certain kind of power that comes from doing what no one expects of you. The kind of power that doesn't need announcements or declarations. It doesn't need validation from anyone. It simply exists, building quietly in the background while the world watches and waits for you to fail. You know what I'm talking about. You've felt it. People watching, doubting. Their words, sometimes subtle, sometimes outright, telling you that you're not going to make it. They'll smile to your face and talk behind your back. They'll underestimate you, ignore you, maybe even pity you. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can feed into the noise, you can react, you can shout back, or you can choose to let your silence be your weapon. Because the truth is, the loudest victories are the ones nobody saw coming. The thing about success, real success, is that it doesn't come from the need to prove something to anyone. It comes from the discipline of shutting out the distractions, of working quietly, of letting the results speak for themselves. It comes from knowing that the journey you're on isn't about applause or approval. It's about something deeper, something quieter, a hunger that no one else sees but you. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. You don't owe the world a justification for your goals, your dreams, or the path you're on, because they won't understand it anyway, not until they see it. And that's the beauty of this game. While they're busy talking, doubting, and watching for signs of weakness, you're moving in silence, getting stronger, getting smarter, getting better. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's already too late. The work is done. The success is in motion. Understand this. People are quick to doubt what they don't see. They'll doubt your potential because they don't see your struggle. They don't see the sleepless nights. They don't see the hours you've poured into mastering your craft. They don't see the sacrifices you've made, the times you've stayed silent when you could have spoken out. They only see the surface, and that's where they'll misjudge you every time. But that's exactly where your strength lies, in the fact that they can't see it coming. The quiet work, the behind-the-scenes grind, is what separates those who talk from those who execute. And the ones who are truly great at what they do, they don't need to shout. They don't need to explain themselves to the world every step of the way. They know that when the time is right, the work will speak louder than any words ever could. Let me tell you something. The most satisfying victories are the ones where people don't even realize what you're capable of until it's already done. The moment when those who underestimated you are left with nothing but their own silence. It's not about showing off. It's about outlasting the noise, outworking the doubters, and understanding that the best form of payback isn't an argument. It's undeniable success. Think of it like this. The loudest ones in the room are often the most insecure. The people constantly telling you what they're going to do, how great they are. They're often trying to convince themselves. But when you're truly focused, when you're truly locked in, you don't need the noise. You don't need the validation. You don't need to announce every move you make, because the work you're doing in silence is going to be felt in ways no words could ever capture. Success is the quietest revenge. So don't waste your time arguing with those who doubt you. Don't waste your energy trying to prove something before it's done. Let them talk. Let them assume you're not going to make it. Let them think they figured you out. Because every second they spend doubting is a second you're spending, building, growing, perfecting your craft. And when the time comes, they'll realize the gap. They'll see that while they were making noise, you were making moves. And by the time they understand what's happened, you'll be too far ahead for their opinions to even matter. Let your success be the thing that shocks them. Let your results be the punchline to every joke they've made about you. And the best part? You won't need to say a word. You won't need to justify the long nights, the sacrifices, the grind they never saw. The results will speak for themselves. Because here's the truth. When you're truly focused on your goal, you don't have time to be loud. You're too busy working. And that's what they'll never understand. That the real work is quiet. It's unglamorous. It's repetitive. But it's in that quiet that you find power. It's in that silence that you become unstoppable. So keep moving, keep grinding, stay quiet, stay humble, and let the results do the talking. Let your success shock them into silence. Brings us closer to one another. It's all the shared broken pieces of our souls. Don't be ashamed of your darkness. All the mistakes that you've made have made you. Redemption is always on the other side of a moment. Every passing moment is another chance to turn it all around. Keep fighting. Don't go gently into that good night. For as long as you are here, hope dies last.
Someone who does not acknowledge the dark side of themselves and who is only good because that's all that they know how to be and that's all that they know of themselves is not really a good person because they're only doing what they know versus someone who's delved into the darkness of humanity, the pain of it, the despair of it, and then chooses to be good and chooses to do something. That's the true good person, right? That's the person we're all aspiring to be. Not someone who's ignored the pain, but someone who's chosen to do something with the pain.
You have to learn to select your thoughts the same way that you select your clothes every day. Now, that's a power that you can cultivate. Because if you can't master your thoughts, you're in trouble forever.
The gods envy us. They envy us because we're mortal. Because any moment might be our last. Everything's more beautiful because we're doomed. You will never be lovelier than you are now. We will never be here again.
The Persian poet Rumi once wrote, "What hurts you blesses you. Darkness is your candle. Everything in life is trying to teach you something. You just have to pay attention."
You've got to be ready to change your life. No one said this was going to be easy. You have to keep on keeping on. You think life was meant for the weak? It wasn't. It never was. I'm telling you, just keep on going.
and then climbed back out. That's why we have hero stories, right? There's always the hero has to go through down into hell and then climb back up. And that's what we admire. That's what we respect. That's what we give dignity to. So if we're not respecting that in ourselves, in our own innate ability to go dark and then climb back out, we're not dignifying ourselves.
You've got to be ready to change your life. No one said this was going to be easy. You have to keep on keeping on.
So get back up. Make the most of this life you have. You're here. You're here now. The time is always now.
Nothing in this life lasts, even our troubles. Keep going, my friend. Just keep going.
In the end, it's all going to be all right. And if it's not, then it's not the end. Please just keep going.
Most people know what they need to do, but very few actually do it. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get better and way less time actually doing the work. It all comes down to how much you want it. Most people know what they want, but very few people want it bad enough to actually do something about it. So on the days where you don't feel like showing up, are you the kind of person to push past and keep going? Or are you the one looking for an excuse to take a break?
And the last thing I think about is like, why not? Like, why not you? Like, why can't you achieve all the things that are in your heart and your mind? Why can't you, break that generational curse? Why can't you get up and start taking those steps? You know what I mean? Why? Like, what's stopping me? And when you really get to the root of what's stopping you, the only thing that is truly stopping you is you, and you have the power to take that stand and to put one foot in front of the other, take it day by day, step by step, and become the person that God made you to be.
You're not what your parents tell you are. You're not what your friends tell you are. In fact, you're not even what you tell yourself you are, because you don't even truly understand your limitless potential. So when you live in a situation where you're limited by the opinions and the insecurities and the projections of other people, what you're doing is you're limiting your potential and your growth for self-development. And the first part is understanding that you can become whoever you want to become.
A mystery to yourself. You don't know who you are. You have patterns of behavior and you're not even understanding that. You don't know why you're angry. You think you're angry because that person said something mean to you or did something wrong. But in fact, your anger probably stems from things from deep, deep within, from your childhood. And you're not reacting to that person, but to actually your parents and what they didn't give you. The origin of wisdom, according to the Greeks, was know thyself. And I believe that very firmly, that knowledge about who you are is an end in itself and will help you in so many ways become that human being that I think we all have the potential to become.
Just all the things that you aren't willing to give up for the dreams that you have. And that is what the person who will beat you is willing to give up.
You might slip and fall in the process of trying to achieve your goals, but you need to remember that it's all part of the journey.
You see, many people say they want to be great, but they're not willing to pay the price of greatness. Are you willing to do what most people are not willing to do? Are you willing to put in the work even on holidays? Are you willing to work to perfect your craft even on weekends? Are you willing to study and get better and grow even on the nights you're invited to those parties? Are you willing to pay the price of greatness? Are you willing to pay that entry fee, the cost at the door of what it takes to be great? You don't just stumble upon greatness. You pay the price day by day, moment by moment.
Winning didn't know my name. Winning doesn't know who the hell you are. Winning keeps its hands in its pocket. It's going to keep its hands in its pockets. You know why? Because it doesn't want to point to anybody who isn't worthy.
in order to see winning in all its glory, it wants to see you suffer. It wants to know what you're made of.
You stay in environments where people don't recognize the value of you, you will shrink your gift to the size of what they can stand. And that's what causes anxiety and depression and stress, because you have had to shrink into a form where people can tolerate you.
I don't wait for the perfect moment. Usually the perfect moment is now. The right time to tell somebody that you love them when you feel it is right now. The right time to make that contact, right now. So I want to challenge you today. That call you need to make it now. That email you need to send it now. That chapter you need to write, that copy, that funnel, do it now. I love knocking things off the list because that creates momentum. And the more you do this, ironically, you will develop confidence in yourself to be able to attack things in the moment.
Not just about you. It's not just about whatever you're going to get. It's about the example that you're setting for every single person around you. It's the example in your household. It's the example in your neighborhood. It's the example in your community. And if we all took that seriously, the world wouldn't look the way that it looks. You have an obligation to extract the potential that is within you. You are given gifts. You are given a purpose. You may not know what they are yet, but it is your duty to figure out what they are. It is your duty to become the best possible version of yourself.
And you figure out who you are and what you want to do, and you devote your life to it like a maniac, like you're all in on this thing, and you manifest, most of these people end up doing what they say they're going to do and being who they say they're going to become. It's real.
Okay, each and every day I'm just going to try to progress little by little. I'm going to try to take small steps each and every day. Understanding that every day is not going to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to have days where I mess up, but that's okay because we're focused on the progress. We're not focused on trying to be perfect. And when you focus on the progress, that means even through mistakes, you're looking for the lessons and the ways that you can grow and progress through the mistakes.
The important thing is that you just keep climbing. Even when you do slide back, you're never at the bottom, because you're always higher up than when you started.